everybody, and welcome to another board game review and gameplay demo. Today's game is a wonderful little filler game that I've talked about a couple of times and I really enjoy. Filler games in general I am a huge fan of because a lot of times I'll go to game nights, I go to big meetup group game night type of things where there's like 2 or 2.5 dozen people, and we're talking about like scattered around games and staggered times and all this kind of stuff. So having some nice filler games that fit a variety number of players is a great thing to do. So that's normally what I bring, is a bunch of filler games. But for today's purposes, the one that I will be talking about is Welcome to the Dungeon. This is a fun little filler game that gets us into a fantasy RPG type of realm. You have the very stereotypical archetypes of characters like the wizard, the barbarian, the fighter type, all that kind of thing. And the whole point is that you and the other players are stacking cards that represent monsters in the dungeon itself. And it's a press your luck game. The idea is that you keep going and you keep adding cards, or you're taking away equipment from the character, and eventually you just say like, pass, I can't do it. You don't believe that you can make it through the dungeon successfully, and when there's only one person left, they try to go through the dungeon, and if they do it successfully, they win, and if they don't, then they die, essentially. And obviously I'll talk about the exact mechanics when I go into the actual demo, but that's generally what it is. It's a very fast game. It plays with 2 to 4 players in probably about 20 minutes. I mean, that's like at most you're talking about 20 minutes. It's really quick, and it's a ton of fun. Each round you can swap out the character and all this kind of stuff. There is another game in this sort of series, I guess, that I think it's Welcome Back to the Dungeon, that was just recently released. Unfortunately, I don't have it. I've got the original one, but as always, that is enough about the introduction for the game. Let's go right on ahead and talk about what the game is similar to. As for similarities, there were 2 major things that I wanted to talk about. The first one is just a game, and it is the most similar to Welcome to the Dungeon, and that is King of Tokyo. The reason I wanted to talk about King of Tokyo was for 2 reasons. First off is the aesthetic look and feel. The King of Tokyo is a relatively simple to play, or very simple to play, and it has an almost cartoonish appearance. You get the very similar vibe, so to speak, from Welcome to the Dungeon, where, you know, it's really cartoonish. It's not kiddish, but, you know, it has like the sort of cell shading type of like, ooh, whimsy, you know, type of thing, and very simple to play. The second reason is that it has a very distinct press your luck mechanic. The entire point of Welcome to the Dungeon is that it's a press your luck game. And as you're going round by round, putting those cards down or taking away the equipment, you're always thinking to yourself, oh man, are we going to be able to beat this? Are we going to manage it? I don't know, it's crazy. And so you keep going and going, whereas with King of Tokyo, you're in Tokyo, these guys are hitting me, am I going to survive, am I going to get the victory point, yada yada, same thing. So very similar in that sense, where you have a similar mindset as you're playing these 2 games. The second similarity that I wanted to mention is actually more of a category of similarities, and that is with the D&D games, because very much this game has a lot of inspiration that comes from D&D and Pathfinder and games of that sort, the tabletop fantasy role-playing game type things. And it's wonderful. It's not a bad thing, but just so that you're in that mindset of like, this is the kind of thing that you're going after. You're going after orcs and monsters and skeletons and things of that nature. Gameplay-wise, they couldn't be any more different, but thematically, they are similar in that sense, in that that's what you're going after. You are going after those types of fantastic, whimsical types of creatures. So with that, those are my 2 similarities for this game. Now we're going to jump right on in to the actual demo for how to play Welcome to the Dungeon. Alright everybody, we are all set up and ready to play some Welcome to the Dungeon. So like I said, this game is very, very simple. We literally have all of the components here on the table. I've got it set up for 4 players, indicated by these 4 player cards. Each person gets one, and it indicates the value of the specific monsters in the deck. That's the numbers 1 through 9. And then it also indicates the number of the type of card that's in there, which is indicated by the number of pictures next to the card value. And then at the far right side of the images, it shows which specific item carried by one of the characters will allow you to destroy or defeat the monster instantly. Like I said, the entire point of this game is as you go through, you'll be drawing cards from this. This is the monster deck, and you'll be picking whether the monster goes into the dungeon or you discard it and get rid of one of the character's items. So each round, the first thing we'll do is pick a character to go into the dungeon with, and then as you draw through the cards, you can either put them in the dungeon or eliminate some of the character's equipment instead and get rid of the card. If you are the last person to be there while everybody else has passed, you go into the dungeon. If you do so successfully, you will get one of these scrolls of success, or whatever you want to call it, and if you get 2 of these, you win the game. The other way to win the game is if you go into the dungeon and you lose, then you'll flip over your player card like that to the red side to indicate you win in once and lost. If you go in twice and lose both times, then you are out of the game. You're eliminated. If you are the last player standing, everybody else has been eliminated, then you win. So what I'll do now is I'll go very briefly over the individual characters. Now, these characters each have some common elements to them where they've all got items that increase their HP, they've all got items that defeat specific monsters, like specific ranks of monsters, but they also all have very unique things. So we've got the mage, the rogue, the barbarian, and the warrior. Like I said, very archetypal D&D type of people. Starting off with the mage, we've got the wall of fire, which gives you +6 to HP, and the bracelet of protection, which gives you +3. Again, everybody's got something like that. The mage has the holy grail, which automatically defeats any monster with an even number. So 2, 4, 6, or 8 monsters are defeated instantly. You also have the demonic pact, which is defeat the demon and the next monster. So the demon is the rank 7 monster, and essentially what that means is you defeat the demon and whatever card is next in the dungeon, defeat that as well. Polymorph is defeat a monster that you draw up, replacing it with the next monster instead. So the monster just goes away. You use this item, and you're fighting the next one instead. And then the omnipotence power is really cool. If all the monsters in the dungeon are different, then you just win. In other words, for all of the monsters that have doubles, which are the first 5 ranks, if none of the doubles are present, then you automatically win, which is an awesome power if you can get it to work. The rogue, just like with the mage and everybody else, has HP value from the mithril armor and the shuckler in this case. Or buckler, sorry, not shuckler. Healing potion, when you die, then you come back at full health, but you only get to use it once. Vorpal dagger, you defeat a monster that you choose. So in other words, before you start flipping cards over, you say, I killed the dragon, or whatever it happens to be. The invisibility cloak is the rogue's way of sneaking away from the big bad monsters, the 6, 7, 8, and 9 monsters. And the ring of power is you automatically defeat monsters with a strength 2 or less, and you heal that amount, which is very helpful. Anything that gives you healing is awesome. Barbarian, this is the big nasty dude. Once again, we've got the leather shield, which gives us +3 HP, and the chainmail, which gives +4. Vorpal axe, defeat a monster after you drew it. So unlike the Vorpal sword with the rogue, this one happens after you flip over the monster and you say that one is dead. Warhammer, easy, defeat goblins, which is the number 5 rank. The healing potion, again, when you die, then you come back. And the torch, you automatically defeat any monsters that are rank 3 or less in this case. And again, if you look at the character cards, the player aid cards, then you can see the symbols for these different items and what they end up defeating. So next up, or last up, is the warrior, where once again we've got the knight shield of +3 and the plate armor of +5 HP. The dragon spear, defeat the dragon, which is the number 9 monster. Holy Grail, again, defeat monsters that have even numbers. Torch, again, defeat monsters with a 3 or less. And then the Vorpal Sword, defeat a monster you choose before entering. Right? Easy enough, yeah? So, like I said, we're ready to start playing, and the first thing that we do is pick one of the heroes. So we'll go ahead and we'll pick the Barbarian. So what you do is you just lay out the items just like this. I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly like this, but you know what I mean. Alright, and then we just go around the horn. So we'll say that whoever is first, they look at the card. It's number 2. The Barbarian has a torch, so that's fine. We'll put that in the dungeon. Okay? One thing that you want to make absolutely certain of is that you keep the dungeon deck and this deck, the monster deck, separate. Right? You don't want to be drawing from the dungeon deck and putting it into the monster deck. Right? Next up is a number 3. Also gets killed with the torch. Not a problem. Number 7. Ooh, that's a nasty little bugger. Oh, Barbarian can take it. You're fine. You're fine. Number 4. Ooh. Ooh, yeah, okay, we got this. Number 5, we got the hammer, not a problem. Number 5, we got the hammer, not a problem. Let's see, number 2, we got the torch. Burn that, Mo. Number 1, we got the torch. See, this is what happens. Now, to be fair, obviously, I'm kind of cheating on this because I know all the cards. And the idea is that if you're playing with multiple people, you obviously don't know what they do. So, I just drew the number 9. I just drew the dragon. So, we're going to set this aside, and we are going to take away the leather shield. Right? So, that's how that works. When you discard a card, you take it off to the side, and then you take one of the items instead. Right? Number 1, torch. Number 4, that one's kind of rough. But we'll leave it for now. Number 3 gets torched. And then number 6, we're going to get rid of number 6. But what are we going to remove? We will remove the healing potion. Okay? So, that's it. That's what happens. Now we take all these cards up. And then in order, we just go through them. So starting with number 3, gets burned, does no damage. Number 4 does damage. So right now we've got 8 HP total, and let me see here. Vorpal Axe. It's not worth the Vorpal Axe. So we'll just take the hit, so that's 4 HP down, so our chainmail is essentially gone and we're at 4 HP. Number 1 gets burned, number 1 gets burned, number 2 gets burned, number 5 gets smashed, 5 gets smashed, 4. The problem is that we would die. I mean, we have to Vorpal it. We have to Vorpal Axe it. 7! No! Now we're dead! So whoever goes into the dungeon would flip their card over. And that's it. That is the entirety of the game. That is one round of this game. That's how it goes. Now, again, obviously, you can't really say a whole lot, or I can't say a whole lot with regard to the dynamic, the social dynamic, because I'm the only one who's putting the cards down. You know, with the Barbarian, then you want to avoid like the 4s and the 7, 8, 9, because he has no way of fighting them off single-handedly. But that's the entirety of it, right? That is one round, and you just go for however many rounds it takes for one person to get 2 successes. I won't bore you with another playthrough because it's going to be pretty much the same thing, but again, at the beginning of the next round, the person who went into the dungeon is the first player. They get to pick a person. They can go in with the same person. They can switch it up. Doesn't matter, whatever they want to do. And then you just go again. Like I said, it's really fun, very quick, very dynamic. It's a cool little game. So with that, we'll jump right on ahead into my conclusions, or my general conclusions, as well as some pros and cons for this. Well, I hope that you all enjoyed my little demo for how to play Welcome to the Dungeon. I'll keep saying it over and over again. It's a great, fun little filler game. It's a perfect companion to having like all of the bigger strategic games so that you can get something while you're waiting on something else that's bigger. But as I promised, it is time now for pros and cons, as well as just sort of some general conclusions about the game. So first and foremost, I'll go over some of the pros. Just the fact that it is a filler game is a huge pro for me. I love filler games. It just makes game nights go so much more smoothly. Just in general, like it's a lot easier to go to a game night with games like this as opposed to games like, you know, Power Grid and Cosmic Encounter and things like. Now, these are games that I love. I love playing the bigger Euro styles and things like that, but at the same time, you can't always do it. You know, you arrive late, your gaming group, the regular people you play with are doing something else, all this kind of stuff. You know, stuff happens. That's just the way it is. So having something like this, you can play with a couple other people is absolutely perfect. Second thing is that this game is good. It's not great with 2, 3, or 4 players. The one complaint, the one minor issue with it that I have is with 2 people, because with only 2 people, then you're just waiting for one person to pass, and then you're kind of like, no, dang it. But again, it's a minor complaint because it's still a similar strategic dynamic, because you're always going to be thinking, should I pass? Do I personally think that I can do it? That, like, it boils down to what you think and not worrying about what somebody else thinks. The thing is, with 3 or 4 players, though, you're thinking, like, I think that I can do this now, but then you got to wait for 2 or 3 others, and then before your next decision. So it's like, it can be a little bit tougher with it. But again, you can play this game over and over and over, play it through a couple of times while you're waiting for other things to happen. So it's really nice. And last but not least, for the pros, for me personally, is the theme. I love fantasy themes. You guys know that a lot of my games are fantasy. I talk about fantasy themed games a lot. Y'all know I started with D&D and all this kind of thing. So like this is my wheelhouse. This is the kind of thing that I enjoy. Bring on the orcs and the goblins and the dragons and the rogues and the mages and all these guys, and just you know, just have at it, right? That is the kind of thing I love to see in a game. And in a nice compact package like this, absolutely amazing, just perfect. Now, there are a couple of minor cons that I wanted to say. Well, there's one minor one and then one rather major one I wanted to talk about. So the first minor one is what I already talked about with the player number. If you only got 2 people, it's not as good. It's just not as fun. You don't have as much of a social table dynamic going on. It's not a bad thing, but you know, maybe play something specific for 2 players instead. You know, go with like Battle Line or something like that. The second thing, the bigger one, is the fact that some of the characters feel really, really similar. I mean, all of the characters feel really similar because they've all got, you know, the HP boosts. They've all got the items that automatically destroy X character or Y characters or things like that. Some of them have the ones that, you know, you heal up and things like that. My problem is that some of the heroes literally have identical items. And it's kind of like, blah, you know, it's a little bit disappointing because you want to have that really deeper variety and things like that. And for this particular game, that's why I love the mage, because the mage by far has the most variety in the capabilities of the items, you know, and the most uniqueness going around it. So like omnipotence, for example, absolutely ridiculous. You don't have multiples, then it's like, boom, you win automatically. You know, stuff like that. It's really, really cool. It's a very unique thing. Whereas, you know, there's 3 Vorpal things of various sorts. There's 2 people that have healing potions. There's 2 people that have a torch. There's 2 people that have a holy grail and defeat the 2, 4, 6, 8. You know, so that kind of thing, I mean, it's not really frustrating, but it's just a little bit disappointing. And I wish that we could have more dynamic, not interactions, but more dynamic characters, and like different items, like more unique items amongst them, so that they really felt unique and separate from one another. Again, I do not have, nor have I played Welcome Back to the Dungeon, the new version or second one or sequel. Like I don't even know what it is. I don't know what it is. But I haven't played it, so I don't know. Maybe they addressed that, and maybe everything else is new, and like maybe there's more heroes and stuff like that. The other thing that would be nice is if you as a player were able to do more. So like if we had like an individual like once per dungeon power that we can do, like a roll card type of thing, I think that would be something that would be perfect for this game. You know, just little thing like that would be really nice just to expand it out. But as it stands, it's good. You know, it is not a bad game by any means, but you know, it makes no assumption that it's something bigger than it is. You know, it's a little game, it's a filler game, and that's what it does well. It's not trying to pretend to be a a D&D tile placement game. It's not trying to be that, and so it's not. But overall, just general conclusions for it. It's a fun game. If you haven't tried it, definitely try it. If you try it and like it, go and buy it. It's like $10 or $15. It's really inexpensive. It's a great game to have. It's great for kids as well. Again, you've got sort of like the cartoonish type of thing, and it's really fast, so you don't have to worry about shorter attention spans, things like that. It's just there are a lot of pluses to this game, and for something that's so cheap, there's no reason not to have it on your game shelf. But with that, thank you so very much for watching. As always, I would love to hear your guys' comments on this. What do you think of the game itself? What do you think of what do you think about my thoughts on it? Do you agree with me, disagree, whatever you want to say? Put anything and everything in the comments below. In addition, any games that you would like to see me review in the future, please let me know those as well, because I would love to have some suggestions from you guys as to what you'd like to see from me. But with that, thank you so very much for being here, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much again, everyone, for watching my board game review and gameplay demo for Welcome to the Dungeon. Again, this is a tremendously fun little filler game with a lot of really great aspects to it and only a couple of relatively minor drawbacks. Once again, please let me know anything and everything that you think about this game, as well as this review, in the comments below. I would also like to point you to several of my playlists linked up at the top of the page so that you can see some more of my work, and you can also click on the big giant subscribe button to see more of me in the future. Again, if there are any games that you'd like to see me review, please let me know in the comments as well. And with that, thank you once again, and I will see you next time.